big issues we've been following today is whether the Bank of Canada is doing enough to stand up for Canada. Is the BOC making us attractive to global investors? Joining us now is someone with a global perspective. Marc Faber is the editor, publisher of the Gloom, Boom, and Doom report and joins us live in studio. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
So we know that some American hedge funds are seeing this as their moment to pile on against the Canadian banks, against pretty much everything in our economy and the real estate sector. What are you hearing as a global investor in terms of how people are feeling about Canada?
Well, I think there are two sides. One side is obviously the real estate market, and a lot of people have been bearish about real estate, and they have been bearish for many years, and about the banks as well. And so far, they haven't proven to be right. One day they'll be right and markets will go down. But as you've seen in Vancouver, the market went down over the last 2 years, and now the last 6 months it picked up again. So there's still a lot of money in the world slushing around and looking at buying real estate. And I think in general, international investors view Canada more favorably than the US. So money is flowing into Canada. The second thing about Canada is the resource sector. As you know, we had a good move in gold shares last year. Then the second half of the year was weak. There was a pickup in January, but recently gold shares have again been weak, and mineral companies anyway. And I think that the moment the Teslas of this world and the Apples go down, the FANG stocks, which have driven the S&P, the moment these stocks come under pressure, and significant pressure, I believe at that time the resource sector will pick up, and especially the precious metal sector, and then a lot of money will flow into Canada.
Yeah, I was going to say that. What you're laying out right now is the fact that even though a lot of people domestically are worried about our real estate market, the run-up we've had, a lot of American hedge funds think it's all going to come crumbling down. The world still sees it as a safe place. And if the commodities come back, then it sounds like Canada's in a prime position to benefit.
I don't know what will come apart first, the US or Canada. My sense is that the US economy is in a worse shape than they pretend it to be.
Okay, I want to ask you about that because obviously the Trump administration, through their corporate tax cut plan, they think they can grow that economy by 3% a year. I've not met anyone who thinks they can hit 3. You sound like you're a lot more negative on America than that.
Yes, I think that the economy, after having expanded now, we're going to be in the 8th year of an expansion this June, and we're more than 8 years into a bull market. The economy is very tired, and it's never been a very strong recovery, and the recovery was driven by exceptionally expansionary monetary policies around the world, not just in the US, but also in Europe and in Japan. And so this economic expansion is looking very tired, and I think the economy could easily be in recession within the next 6 to 12 months.
Now, that doesn't bode well for Canada because they're our largest trading partner. 75% roughly of our goods go straight to them. So yes. I can't see a situation where Canada can stay on course or even benefit from a global sentiment if the they might love our real estate and they might love our commodities if commodities go up. But if the Americans aren't buying our goods, how well can Canada
Yeah, sure. This is but I think that Canada should do the same as China, namely redirect the export away from the US to other countries. Today, the US is no longer the largest trading partner of China. The emerging markets are the largest trading partner of China. Europe and other countries with which China has free trade agreements. So the dependence on the US is not that high. During the election campaign of Trump, he was repeatedly talking about steel from China and so forth. The US imports just 5% of its steel from China. The big importer is actually from Mexico and Canada for steel, yes? And for Chinese exports of steel, the US is 2%. So it's meaningless for China. And recently, the largest bus manufacturer in China was being interviewed, the chairman. And he said, the US for us is unimportant. We export to 164 different countries. what do we care about the US? The US is no longer a big deal for China.
Okay, I want to talk about that in terms of the fact that when we see economic expansions and contraction, recessions, that's cyclical and we expect that to happen. But are we talking about something deeper here with the United States, that we're talking about an empire in decline? I've been hearing that since I was in high school. Well, but are we actually looking at an American empire in decline on the global stage?
Well, I think that everything is relative. If you look at the US, the last, say, 200 years, you had a period of rapid economic expansion. Until the 1920s, 1930s, we had a depression. But in the 19th century, we had several significant recessions and the Civil War, don't forget that. And then in the 50s, relative to the rest of the world, the US reached probably its peak. I'm talking about relative to the rest of the world. It was the most powerful military nation, and economically, they were well advanced above everybody else. China and India were nowhere. They were less than 3% of GDP each. Having been, at the beginning of the 19th century, around 50% of GDP. And now, over the last 30, 40 years, it began first with Japan, infringing on industries in the US, notably the consumer electronic industry and the auto industry, then South Korea, Taiwan, and then China. And I think that relative to the rest of the world, the US is not as powerful as it used to be. And when I went to Hong Kong the first time, and since then lived in Asia, in '73 until the mid-'80s, the saying was, if America sneezes, Asia catches a cold. Today, this is no longer the case. But if China sneezes, Asia has a cold. It's in intensive care.